It's so surreal. Less than 2 years of launching a business to be on Shark Tank and coming out with an investment from there.
It's also grieving a part of the identity that is no longer you.
Because of the way fashion as an industry was perceived by those other ecosystems. So I almost wanted to remove that part
quite quickly.
Identity.
Even though, we're ambitious and we want to take it beyond the UAE, I feel the GCC will always be where the Broth Lab was born.
I do think it comes back to the collaborative nature that the UAE brings when it comes to supporting people.
I think a narrative that I'm tired of is a narrative about women. If anything, I feel more empowered here as a woman than anywhere else in the world. Hi, my name is May Barber, and welcome to another episode of the Creative Hustle Show. In today's episode, I am joined by two special women, Kelly Lundberg, personal brand strategist, author, and speaker, as well as Hadil Al-Khatib, certified nutrition and gut health expert and founder of award-winning health concepts. On purpose, I wanted us, all three women, entrepreneurs, to come together and share our collective experiences of what it means to launch businesses in this part of the world, in the UAE, in these special times, and show our gratitude to the place and the setting and the people that have enabled us to actually launch and grow this journey. Kelly, Hadil, welcome to the Creative Hustle.
It's great to be here.
Yes, nice thank you for having us.
Share the sofa with you.
Same.
Great. So I will start with you, Kelly. So you got on an airplane at 21 years old.
Yeah.
You were working with Emirates at the time?
That was right. Yeah, it was an opportunity that I had seen in Edinburgh on a dreary November day. Dreary Scottish being wet and miserable. And this opportunity came up to live in or to be based in Dubai as cabin crew. And I remember at the time saying to my mum, "Where is Dubai?" And she said to me, "Oh, it's this up-and-coming city." So this would be, to put perspective, 2002, to this up-and-coming city, and this is an amazing opportunity. And I was like, the Middle East? Like, who at 21, 22 is thinking about going to the Middle East?
What did you think you were walking into versus what you saw?
Well, I remember at the time my mum had said, go and do some research. So in the days kind of pretty much before internet, it was the bookshop. And I remember I found The Lonely Planet. And I remember reading a little bit about, what was a tiny section in the Middle East book of Dubai. And I think, it's quite interesting that at 21, 22, your priorities are very different.
Yes.
So all I was concerned was, is there bars? Is there restaurants? Can I have a social life? And when I found that in the Lonely Planet guide, I was like, yeah, cool, I'm sold. So applied for the job. But when I came, I think I very underestimated kind of lifestyle.
Yes.
And I think that was a big introduction, that it was very Western. I'd been on holiday to Bahrain in the 90s. So Bahrain and Dubai, they were different.
Yes.
And I think I was more expecting that. So I think from a lifestyle perspective, it was quite different. But for me, very quickly, this opportunity of growth, you can do and be anything. That was very much deep-rooted in the beginning. And I was only crew for 2.5 years before I decided to hang up my wings and go, hang on a minute, this entrepreneurial world, like I had got this bug and it was contagious of going, let me try it. What's the worst that can happen?
And that's the beginning of several reinventions that you've had in your career. And we overlapped. So do you remember, by the way, how we met?
But it's through styling.
Through the fashion industry.
Yes, absolutely.
So I was running the cartel at the time.
That's
so
right,
the wearable art gallery and concept store on Al Avenue.
Yes.
And you had your styling business.
Yes.
So we did, I believe, a couple of maybe collaborations because we had the magazine as well, the cartel magazine.
Yeah, and I was wanting to bring people in from tourists as well. And I was looking for fun and interesting and quirky places.
It was exactly. And Al at the time, I mean, it was kind of one of the hidden gems, not hidden anymore, as we know, but we were really one of the early kind of adopters, if you like, of that movement. And then we saw each other through events. And also, I know you through that hat of fashion and styling.
And my many hair colors.
Yes, exactly. But then you went on and on because you became a personal branding strategist and an author and a speaker. So How did that happen? Was it planned?
It's really interesting because I honestly thought I would style forever. I loved it. So I launched the Middle East's first personal shopping and styling agency in 2005. And I was like, wow, I am so lucky that I have found what I love doing so early on. And during that journey, I very much understood that you needed to learn and grow. So I invested in personal development. And I think this is the biggest key, is that when you continually invest in yourself, you're always growing. And therefore, you outgrow the version that you were. And as much as I thought that styling was going to be me forever, as my skill stack grew as a business owner, my knowledge grew, and who I could help became so much more than just a style transformation. It was a business transformation. It was an identity transformation. And my dream was to always start something from scratch and sell it. So I managed to sell my styling agency after 15 years.
Amazing.
It's a great exit, yeah.
Yeah, and then the next evolution was, well, what do I do? The best thing I can always say is you're often best placed to serve the person you once were. So I sort of looked at this person who I once was, say 10 years ago, that was building a business, but also building her personal brand, and going, hang on a minute, there's definitely a gap there where I can help people package their skill set, their style, their communication. I had done a TEDx talk by then. I'd written a book by then. Then all the pieces started to come together, and you can't see them going forward. You can only see them in reverse.
Yes.
And that's what led me into personal branding. And that's nearly 7 years now. So I'm celebrating 23 years in my second home. I've lived here longer than I have in Edinburgh.
Amazing.
And I brought my husband over from Scotland. He thought he was going to spend his entire life in Edinburgh, and I brought him here. So I love what this city has gifted us and showcased what truly is possible.
Congratulations, by the way, on this milestone, this 23 anniversary in the UAE.
It feels big.
Yes, I see a lot of parallels in our stories because I too went through reinventions. And at the time, you're right, you don't know where you're headed because you grow skills. And this is what I realized because I was in the business of fashion, a gallery and a concept store. So I was dealing with, brands from around the world. We used to say from Tokyo to Bogota, so international brands. And I realized that my value was not in the retail aspect, was not just putting them in the market to sell them, but the value was in brand management. So things like positioning, things like all the brand strategies for, to cater to this market. So that kind of led me to say, you know what, I'm going to study this. So this is where I did my executive MBA in Paris, and I did my brand management in China. And then I came back and said, you know what, I'm going to work in brand management. And that opened a whole new door to working with brands and art and fashion. So I really like what you have said about really realizing, is that moment of realizing that I built a skill there and I can do something with it. And you know what? It's all about just having the guts to say, I'm going to shift and use it towards a new career path.
And monetize it. I
Yes,
think
100%.
people, women in particular, really underestimate the value that they have. And I believe that people externally can do it a little bit easier, but I can take quite easily someone's skill set and go, this is how you could package it and this is how you can monetize it.
Yes.
Versus when you're inside and it's you as a brand, it's always much harder to go, well, how can I monetize this and what can I do? But so many people leave money on the table.
Yes.
By not looking at those skills, the things that you naturally enjoy. How can you make that into a business?
And speaking about, monetization and growth, I mean, Hadil, you are, the queen of entrepreneurship, if you like, in this part of the world. You grew up in Abu Dhabi.
Yes, born and raised.
And you know that we have this in common, right?
No way.
I'm also an Abu Dhabi girl.
Oh, amazing.
Born in
Very
Abu
nice
Dhabi,
to meet a fellow Abu Dhabian.
Yes, I always love it. So I suppose we have our own list of Tourist Club, Cultural Foundation, Marina Mall, the whole...
the OGs.
What are some of your fondest memories of growing up in Abu Dhabi?
Oh my God, so many fond memories. But I have to say that I've seen it all. I've seen the transition. I've seen what people come in, fly in just a few decades ago, and they go like, oh, the glitz and glamour. It wasn't like that. Yeah. I've seen the infrastructure. I've seen, basically I worked 13 years in the corporate section, the energy section. I've seen their transition in terms of sustainability, expansion, scalability. And I remember I went to my parents after school one day and I said, I have schoolmate of mine who's living in a 15-story building. We were living in a villa at the time.
Course.
And I was like, 15-story.
That was high rise.
High rise.
Yes.
And I'm looking back and I'm thinking, oh my God, that's the 12-year-old.
Yes.
And I'm looking now, the 41-year-old, looking at, the skyscapers and where the UAE is now. It's phenomenal. I'm so proud. Beyond
so much value
proud.
to this history. I mean, you capture that history actually of the country and its growth. That's amazing.
It did
To
make me a
witness
bit
it all.
impatient, though.
Ambitious. Let's put it that way.
And a bit impatient, where I'm like, no, this has to be done now. Like tomorrow's too late. But looking back, so proud and forever a UAE girl. I'm the desert girl.
You had a successful career in HR.
Correct.
So 13 years in HR.
Mm-hmm.
Then a health crisis.
Uh-huh.
How did you emerge from all of this to create not one, but 3 businesses in health eateries?
So I was this 20-something-year-old in a boardroom with 50 and 60 gray-old, men, really accelerating in a career path that I thought it will forever be what I would do. I have a master's degree in HRM. I love working with people. Human assets has always been a passion of mine. As one evolves, I became a mom. I endured so many different symptoms, diagnoses that were really undiagnosed by many doctors. I had to leave behind a successful business, a job I loved, I was absolutely obsessed with, to an extent where I got married and I lived in Dubai. I was commuting every single day back and forth to Abu Dhabi. This is how much I loved my career, and I loved the speed I was going in. But life happens, you pivot. But for me, it was a survival tactic. I had to leave everything behind and focus on my health. And once I enrolled myself in a nutrition school, I took a new bachelor degree in nutrition, took further advanced courses in microbiome and gut health, and really became the guinea pig that I am today. I've realized, oh my God, there is a whole new world that I had no idea have to be the best truly version of myself beyond just what I do. And that's when I changed my whole perspective of what I want to do in life. I founded the first ever healthy eatery, fast food eatery that focuses on hormone-free, antibiotic-free, locally sourced eateries. That's fast food called the Rooster Rotisserie 11 years ago. We launched that. And from there, I launched multiple award-winning healthy concepts after that. And
Katcha
again,
Matcha and the Broth Lab.
correct.
Yes.
Katcha Matcha and the
I'm a
Broth Lab.
client of the Broth Lab. Proudly so.
A COVID baby that, we were able to scale and grow at an accelerated rate. But thanks to the community and the likes of yourself, the conscious, health conscious consumer base that really appreciated the quality. And it was the best time to ever launch a concept, because if you're not going to look after your health during COVID, when the whole world is put on pause, when are you really going to look?
Yes,
invest
especially
in your
gut health, right? There's so
Especially
much
gut
conversation around gut health, and somehow we're going back to our ancestral knowledge, right? I mean, we say in Arabic, al-ma'ida bayt al-da, right? So everything starts from the gut. So
correct.
Amazing how you successfully launched 3 businesses around the wellness and the health, of the gut. And as we know, globally, women entrepreneurs receive less than 3% in funding. You, Hadil, mashallah, walked away from Shark Tank with 3 million dirhams.
We have a deal.
How did that feel to you personally and as a woman entrepreneur?
It was great because I was just 2 years in the business. I was episode 1, season 1. The sharks were more nervous than I was.
Oh, wow. They debuted with you. This is our first. Okay.
And they all wanted, obviously, a pitch. We part of it after the pitch. But I was so proud because it was a validation that I was on the right track. I thought to myself, this is going to be a changing point for homegrown businesses, women-led businesses here in the UAE. I was 2 years in the business, and I remember the sharks were fighting over one another and pairing up and saying, okay, we'll give you the 5 million, we'll give you the 3 million.
It's a great episode, I must say.
Yes, it was really exciting to see that. It was much more than a validation. It was a turning point for me. First of all, I really appreciated that I knew my numbers inside out. That was gold. And I invested exactly what you said. I invested so much over the years in myself, because obviously the sharks are investing in the founder much more than the business.
For sure. Yeah.
And on top of that, I also knew exactly where I wanted to go and where I wanted to take the Broth Lab. And even after the due diligence and, 8 months of back and forth, and they gave me double the evaluation. because the broth lab has since then grew and became multiple retailers.
This is during the due diligence stage.
During the due diligence
Interesting.
stage. And it took time, of course, before it was aired on the episode. I remember looking and I was like, oh my God, look, I was so different. My haircut was different.
You look the same. Still great.
Yeah,
Hadil.
looking back, it was really an amazing, it's so surreal. You know, I look back still now and I go like, oh my God, after just less than 2 years of launching a business to be on Shark Tank and coming out with an investment from there and being just, you know, WhatsApping the sharks every now and then. They'd send me messages with a thumbs up, sipping on their broth.
Wow.
So it's also the connection you build. And it paves the way to many more women-led homegrown concepts that didn't even think they could scale globally.
And is it gone global now?
So this is the other thing. After that, we went with the USA UAE initiative. It was a mission where we flew to DC and we spent 2 weeks exploring the US market with with the ambassador Martina Strong. And this is the next step. Of course, I am wary that I'm a mom entrepreneur as well, and I have 2 young girls still. So I'm taking it easy, but it's the organic growth that matters. And I'm still always and forever grateful to where I started, and I want to strengthen the community here and the market over here, because I barely feel like I'm scratching the surface.
Yes.
I always feel like there's more to give here. And even though, you know, we're ambitious and we want to take it beyond the UAE, I feel the GCC will always be where the broth lab was born and where we need to emphasize and strengthen.
Of course, the community here plays a big role to an entrepreneurial success, but then there's also the brand, which of course, Kelly, you are an expert at. So for everyone listening, what is a personal brand and why does it matter?
I think it's a really good question. And first of all, we need everyone who's watching and listening to understand that they have a personal brand. People really think that it's actually just someone in business or it's someone that's at C-suite, for example. But every single person has a brand. And I bring that down to how do you make people feel? And that comes into every scenario that you do. And this memorability piece is what makes people want to buy into you. You mentioned that when you said the sharks, they were buying into you. And I've seen it on a number of pitches where they go, do you know what? The numbers don't matter, but I like you.
Yes.
And people really underestimate the ROI of your brand value going forward in anything that you're doing. And I understood that quite early on in business. And actually it was Harvey Nichols who indirectly introduced me to a personal brand. They asked if we could do a collaboration together. And at the time it was like, wow, because it was a paid collaboration. Like this is as a stylist that was kind of 3 years in business, was like, okay, working with the luxury brands, this is great. And they said to me, can you send me over your bio? Can you send me your logo? Can you send me all your collateral?
Your rate card.
Yeah, all of that. So I sent it all over under my styling business. And they came back to me and said, I'm afraid you can't use this. And I was like, why? And they said, well, because it's a business, it's a conflict of interest. And I was like, oh, okay. So what do you need? Oh, can you just send us your own logo and your own bio?
As in Kelly Lundberg.
Yeah, and I was like,
so they're interested in you, the person,
your
not the
business.
business.
Nothing. And no one cares about your business as much as you do.
100%.
They want the people. So I said to the Harvey Nichols marketing department, I was like, oh, we're just updating it. Can you give me sort of 2 days and I'll get back
while
to
I
you?
commission the designer
Yeah,
to
and
do
I was
one.
like, right, okay, who do I like? And created my own one. And that kind of really forced my hand. I think really I was starting to understand at the time that not everything fits under your business. And you can have multiple businesses as you do. But what I was finding was I had a book about entrepreneurship. I was speaking in schools. It didn't fit under styling. And then I was doing other things. I had an online wedding registrar, which was another business that I sold. Nothing was like it just wasn't fitting. And now when I explain it to people, your personal brand sits at the top.
So it's the master kind of
100%, yeah. And it sits there. And then underneath, a little bit like I said in the beginning, I thought I was going to be a stylist forever. And I thought my styling business would be me. But it doesn't. We change.
It doesn't define you.
No, but you keep adding, investment and equity into your personal brands with knowledge and skills. So that sits at this top of it. And then underneath, you have your multiple businesses or the things that you do or the career ladder that you go on. And I always say the best investment you can make is owning your domain name. So
Yes.
your name, Kelly Lundberg, or mine is Kelly Lundberg Official. And just a side note on that, I did in 2009, when that whole Harvey Nichols situation came around, was try to buy my domain name. So I'm Kelly Lundberg. It's not a common name. And .com was gone. I was devastated. In 2009, like, who's buying Kelly Lundberg?
Who is that Kelly Lundberg?
Seriously.
You
Well,
are on a mission to find the
I
other
was,
Kelly.
and I found.
You found her?
I found him.
Oh.
So basically,
it's an interesting twist to the story.
Yeah.
I hired a broker to find out who had my domain name message, because there was no website. And the gentleman got in touch with me, and he said to me, I'm really sorry, I won't sell you it, because I offered him quite a lot of money. And I said, please, which is what I thought was a lot of money. And he went, no, I'm not selling it.
Why?
I was like, why?
No.
And he said, because I've just had a daughter and I've named her Kelly Lundberg. Yeah, I know. And then, so then you kind of go, I can't really feel bad.
Yeah, you can have that.
Yeah, totally. And then I got annoyed at my parents, because I'm like, why didn't you buy my domain name? And here's the thing, my parents probably still don't know what a domain name is,
But it's very interesting what you say, Kelly, because personally, as someone who had transitioned through different careers and did not have, let's say, the most consistent career, from architect to gallerist to working in fashion to consulting, being a university educator, so really many hats. And I always joke and I say I always struggle when I want to fill out a form, like occupation in one word, like how do you put that?
Which one of my 10 titles shall I add?
Exactly. How do you answer that? Is it harder for someone with multidisciplinary careers to have a personal brand versus those with a consistent career path? Or does that perhaps make it richer?
A very good question. And I would say what most people come to me with, the biggest challenge of, the best way to put it is, they have disconnected pieces of greatness.
I like this, disconnected pieces of greatness.
Yeah. And the golden thread is, how do you pull it all together? And that goes back to being external. And I'm not emotionally involved in a client's brand, they are. So I can quite easily see, but you did this, and this is what you've done, and this is why you've done. And to me, it's like I can get a bird's eye view of their brand and go, but this is where you could do this, and you could package this up, and this could be this. And it's like all coming together. And then they go, oh, I've been trying to think about all these things, and how do I do it? I think there's a personal development quote, is they say, you can't read the label when you're inside the jar.
You have to be outside. You have to get
and
out of
I
your
can
own,
read the label of you. I can read the label of you and go, this is how you pull it all together. And then it evolves. And this is when it comes back to, as well, storytelling. So then the disconnected pieces of greatness come together with a golden thread. And then how do you connect all those pieces through storytelling that viewers, that your social media can join the dots and connect and relate and buy into you and your product even more.
And actually very interesting and actionable tips, because it is becoming more and more important, especially in this noisy environment of content and social media, and like so much happening, right? And then so much content being poured out there. So how do you stand out, right? So it's actually all these elements put together, and storytelling indeed is a great one. And I know, Hadil, you do a lot of work with storytelling, because you're active in, telling your story, which has become also the story of your business.
Correct.
What tips perhaps would you give entrepreneurs, men and women alike, to really successfully grow their businesses and appeal to, with credibility to investors and to other important figures in the ecosystem?
I love what Kelly have mentioned, that you define yourself and you restrict yourself in the role that you've played for so many years. And even though my story has been parallel in so many ways, obviously because of my healing journey and my, the episodes of me going back and forth to what I did in HR and how I expanded the business, the truth is the hardest part was redefining myself. Like that, I don't want to keep living in the past. I don't want to keep referring back to myself as Hadil that was the HR corporate, Hadil who endured, a health crisis and got out stronger. That is who I am, and that will always be part of my storytelling. But I want to redefine myself. I want to be, yes, the founder, the mom entrepreneur who founded award-winning Healthy Concept. Yes, the one who expanded and was able to create a homegrown concept that's gone global. That's great. It's all titles. But who I am truly, really, without the emotion emotional attachment.
Yeah.
Detaching myself from all those different, parts of who I was and who I'm becoming was the difficult part. And this is exactly why I wanted to scale the business early on. I didn't want, as much as I'm still forever going to be attached to the broth lab, I wanted that also detachment because I knew that there is so much more to me as Hadil. And I'm known as Heal with Hadil online, But it's truly just forever redefining yourself and appreciating that you're in different phases of your life throughout. We forget that we're growing and we're evolving and we're aging, with time. And that comes with so much wisdom and also so much baggage that we really need to detach from.
It's quite an interesting piece, that identity, because I call it an identity lag, where I work with clients or just people being aware that they have this version of themselves that they want to be known for, but maybe the rest of the world don't see that yet. So there's a lag. Or it's the other way around. Other people see you as this, but you haven't caught up yet. So there's two ways round, and neither of them are actually the imposter syndrome. It is very much this identity piece. But on that, it took me nearly 4 years to remove celebrity stylist from my bio. I was so emotionally attached to the past version of me. I still wanted to keep on to it, and I see that with clients, but this is part of me. But it doesn't need to stay with you forever. And like you say, it can come up in conversations, or it can come up in a podcast, or someone can take an angle from it. But it's also grieving. And I don't think people do that, but grieving a part of the identity that is no longer you.
It's very interesting what you say, because I almost have an opposite take. Because I worked in the fashion industry, and then after that I moved into the business world and started having clients from, corporates to art to other kind of industries, cultural institutions. I almost felt ashamed of the fashion piece because of the way fashion as an industry was perceived by those other ecosystems. So I almost wanted to remove that part from my identity, right? And only years later did I realize the value of having what, perhaps could be referred to as a multi-layered, let's say, personal brand or identity. And now I realize the beauty that fashion industry kind of gave me, and I embrace it. But I did want, at some point, I did feel that that might actually hurt my personal brand of what I wanted to achieve today, and I didn't see the value of what it could add. So it's interesting how one's relationship with identity changes.
People don't think enough about thinking about their personal brand from the future. A lot of people think about from the past. This is what I've done, so therefore this is who I can be next, versus going, who do I want to be 3 years, 10 years from now? And then reverse engineering, but owning that space now. And I would say that's why I think the reinventions have been not easy. I don't mean that, but the reinventions, or there's that always planning from the future. What's that next version? Where does that come from? I knew my first TEDx talk was always going to happen. I just didn't know how quick it did happen. And then it actually happened much quicker the second time around, but it was that future version of me going, nope, this is what I want to do. I know it's going to happen.
And you channel the efforts towards it, or you just believe that it's going to happen and you let it go at its pace?
Both. I think you've got to be intentional with what your goals are for this future version of your personal brand. So for me, let's take the TEDx, because we were talking about it just before. It was to do a second one because I knew in 10 years I'd come on as a speaker. So that was my intention. And then I went deeper and thought, okay, if I get this TEDx opportunity, what is it going to be on? So I actually already created the topic, the title, the bones of what I would like to talk about. And that was in the May of 2025. On the 2nd of August, I get an email in to say, we'd love for you to apply to put your idea forward for a TEDx. And I was like, hang on a minute. The universe is resulting or answering my request pretty quickly. Their theme was Control plus R, because restarting is a state of mind. So it was all about resetting, restarting. And I wanted people to rethink or restart the way that they see personal branding.
Love that.
And it was very much based on legacy. Because I get quite frustrated when people get caught up in the word legacy and I want to leave behind this for whoever. And I think they're missing the point of legacy is brand building. It is now. Legacy is how you make people feel today, not how you feel, 2 generations.
Yeah, who cares after you're
no
gone?
one's going to know. Like, my nephews will remember who I am, but their kids, unlikely.
Yes.
That's one generation. And I actually think the stats are, I think I researched it, 3 generations, and then it's highly unlikely that the generational family will remember who
I
you
think
were
the
as a
pattern
name.
will change with the Gen Z as well, I must say. Yeah, so it's even going to be faster, the
Yeah.
rate of forgetfulness.
But that's why it's not about the past, it's about the
100%.
now. And that to me then really embodies everything about personal brand. Is how are you making people feel today, and how are you enjoying your life, because your personal brand is the vehicle to you creating the life that you want.
And it's right now. I'd like us to play a little game. There's no ice to be broken. We've broken all kinds of but I just want you each to pick a card. These are just quick fire questions.
Was there a moment where you felt this is why I stayed? Oh my God. Flashback, so many memories. But yes, one advice that I always give was an advice that was given to me and it stuck. It was always remember the why. Why you stayed, why you're doing this, why do you continue, why do you wake up every morning and repeat the same thing over and over again? This is exactly why I stayed. This conversation we're having today, this bond that I keep creating with other women and other people and with the community is exactly why I stayed, because it was so hard and it continues to be hard and the journey is forever going to continue to be hard, but I always remember the why I stayed, why I'm doing this. So this really hits home.
Amazing.
Mine was a hidden gem in the UAE, which I thought was quite interesting because I was like, food, what places? They're not really hidden gems. I'm like, workouts, gym and reformer and all of that kind of stuff is all apart. But I don't think any of them are hidden gem.
You mean besides the broth lab?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not anymore, I must say, Hadil. Let me break it to you.
While you're talking about Shark Tank, that ain't hidden.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately, if I was to bring it back to something, a hidden gem in the UAE is actually the people and the invisible currency of energy that collectively a community bring together that is nowhere else. And I do believe that is down to there is a huge proportion of the population that come in to recreate, to rebuild, to reinvent.
Yes.
And that level of attitude and energy brings this hidden gem of just ambitiousness, positiveness, seeing glass half full versus glass half empty. And I think that's what is nowhere else in the world. And people, until they spend a bit of time here, don't realize that.
You don't know it until you've experienced it here. The community, that feeling of, people coming together, different cultures, different backgrounds, different nationalities, different religions, all coming together, that strong value system that connects us all, that's really at the heart of the community. So I love that it is a gem that we all know, but it is hidden to the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. I got your go-to place for art and culture inspiration in the UAE. There's many actually. I must say I love Al-Quoz in general in Dubai. So of course there's Al Sirkal Avenue, but then there's the Al Khayyat Avenue. There's all the other kind of mushrooming, concepts around. But for family culture, I think I love Jameel Art Center.
Me too.
I love it. It's beautiful for a weekend to come with the kids. There's so much for everyone, for every age group. So many activities that they do. And of course the cultural district in Abu Dhabi is just wow.
Yeah.
So and can't wait for Guggenheim and the other editions. So that's my card. Let's do one more round.
I'll take this one. All right. Mine is one thing you had to unlearn in order to grow. Oh,
you're getting the deep questions, Hadil.
I know. I was asked to speak at Forbes, and one of the headlines was "There is no box," and that was something I was asked by Forbes US. They were like, is it because you had to think outside the box? And I was like, what box? We're living in the UAE. I'm a homegrown small concept. I'm here at Forbes. There was no box in my radar. I didn't even bother to think outside the box because for me, it was always beyond that. So I had to really unlearn that I had certain capabilities and there was actually a box that I had to stick to and that I had to confine my ambition and how I'm going and what pace I had to grow. So I think I had to work so much mentally on myself to really get rid of that box that people want to put you in, and the restrictions that come with whether you made a choice to start a family, to have children, and then you're in that category, and then there's another extra layer into that box. I had to unlearn all these restrictions to get where I am today.
Great. Kelly, what did you get?
So mine was best advice you've received. And I don't know if it was a piece of advice that someone gave me somewhere, but it's definitely something in terms of, in general, you are the best investment you will ever make. And I really believe that. And I believe that from the perspective of me investing in mentors and experts that have been there, done that, got the t-shirt, because I get the results much quicker. But even for those, say, investing in me, it was Daniel Priestley who was talking about, or in fact, no, maybe it was Alex Hormozy. Maybe they were on it together.
They're both amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was very much that if someone was to, if someone was to invest in working with me, could I make them 10% return on the investment? And I remember first time hearing about that. So let's just make maths easy. Product's $10,000. Could I make you $1,000 with your personal brand? And I'm like, that's a no-brainer. Like I get more than 10%. It was just such an aha of going, you are the best investment. Everything that I've spent has, got so much bigger, so much quicker by investing in you. So I think that's the best piece of advice. It just multiplies and multiplies and multiplies.
And the investment is across all. So body, mind, wellness.
100%.
So there's health, there's skills, growth. So it's across all.
One of my favorite things to say, and I'm a late bloomer in the gym, shall we say, in strength training, but I really do believe that your body is a business asset.
Yeah, 100%.
So I love
the
what
only vehicle.
I can't wait to try what you've brought. But it's nearly like the more pounds that I lift on a deadlift, the more pounds I make in my bank. It's like the more you invest in you.
Correct.
Yes. The more years you have as well.
It's all
and
of
the
that.
interest you're going to get out of that is way bigger because your body is the most important vehicle that you're going to be living in throughout your life till the very last day. So 100% the best investment is health.
Amazing. I got a narrative about the UAE that you're tired of. Where do I begin? I think a narrative that I'm tired of is a narrative about women in the UAE. And this is, again, external. Because if anything, I feel more empowered here as a woman than anywhere else in the world. And I must say that, when they talk about the glass ceiling for women, I personally have not faced any glass ceiling. And the women that I had the privilege of working with, and even today, for example, I always say the president of the university is a woman, the dean is a woman, all of them support, right? So they support me, they support everyone. So I feel that even my clients, I had the opportunity of working with a lot of women. So that narrative, I think, about women, it's about time that we change that. And when I travel, I still sometimes get that question of, can you dress like X at the beach? Can you wear that? And, there was a time when I would act like an attorney, right? So like, no, I play the role of the educator. No, let me educate you about how things are. And this is what we do. We are this or that. And today I'm just tired of correcting people because I just assume that you need to know this, right? You need to do your own research. And if you don't, it's not my job to educate you about, how open we are, about how tolerant we are, because the world knows. And if you don't, then you're already behind.
Correct.
So I dropped my attorney hat. I'm like, you know what? I'll leave you to your to your knowledge. And that's a narrative I'm tired of. Shall we do one last round?
Yes. Okay, so your go-to place for coffee or matcha in the UAE? I would say matcha because obviously I'm in love with matcha that I launched Kacha Matcha. I would say I love the Kacha Matcha at the Roost Rotisserie in Al Manara, just next to Emirates School. I love the ice matcha. It's just perfect. It's smooth. It has the coconut milk, the maple syrup, the cinnamon, Sri Lankan cinnamon. Oh my God, I'm craving it right now speaking of it. But I would say yes, I'm a bit biased, but it's Kacha Matcha at the Roost.
Love that. Need to come and try one. One thing the UAE does better than anywhere else. Because I think there's a common theme here, and I do think it comes back to the collaborative nature that the UAE brings when it comes to supporting people. And I think that you don't get anywhere else. I've not experienced it.
Correct.
And I know
Yes.
people coming in are like, wow, I just asked for help for one thing. And then people put me in touch with 4 or 5 different people. Definitely collaborative work for me, or collaborative energy, helping people. I would say the UAE does that better than anywhere else, because all I hear is, oh, this wouldn't happen in London, or this wouldn't happen in New York, or people would be very protective over their contacts. So no, I think it's back to people.
Collaboration and the community.
people,
Inclusive culture.
Yes. Mine is one habit that changed your life.
Oh,
It changed my life and it stayed with me actually throughout life. But I have a habit that I've had since I was young, since I was a child actually, studying in school. And I write my to-do list every day. Handwriting, no, of course, technology helps, like Google Tasks and whatever. But I still like to write what I want to accomplish. And it helps me with discipline. It helps me with goal setting. It stayed with me throughout my life. And I must say, there's just some magic when you cross off an item,
Yes,
right?
it feels so good.
Yeah, it feels so great. So yeah, that's my habit.
love
I
it.
love
Yeah,
that.
and I consume a lot of notebooks, which led to another habit of collecting notebooks. So
Do you ever finish
editions
them,
and
though?
different.
Never
I
probably.
finish
You
all
finish
my
them?
notebooks and I start
Amazing.
new ones. My current one is the El Cid collaboration with Kalimat Foundation. So that's the current one. I always look for nice notebooks and I shop for them around the
Very
world.
nice.
Lovely.
So that led to that habit. Great, lovely chatting with you, ladies. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your experiences, and your stories with us here at The Creative Hustle.
Thank you for bringing us together.
I've learned so
it
much.
was great, really great.
So
well
much
done.
mirroring.
Thank you. All we need
So
to do
much
now
of
is
that.
just to grab a cup of matcha or a
Yeah.
broth lab, read your
Yeah.
read your
Do you
book.
see the lemon?
I'm going to start on your book tonight.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for being here.